Right now, 10 Iowa lawmakers kill a measure to limit eminent domain for pipeline companies, while one company sues in northwest Iowa County for trying to ban the projects.
Plus, 3 weeks before the first trial of 2 eastern Iowa teens charged with murder, we're learning one may be testifying against the other.
And Iowa lawmakers advanced a bill that would make it easier for women to obtain birth control pills without seeing a doctor. All of that and more next on Siouxland News at 10.
Siouxland News at 10 starts now.
A bill that would limit the use of eminent domain by pipeline companies appears to be dead in the Iowa legislature. Thanks for joining us. I'm Katie Koppel.
And I'm Larry Wentz, and tonight that story is first at 10. That bill, which passed in the House last week, would have required pipeline companies to obtain voluntary easements for 90% of their proposed routes before they could apply to the Iowa Utilities Board for the use of eminent domain. But the Senate failed to advance its version out of committee before the first final deadline last month, and today Senate leadership announced it would not act on the House bill.
A northwest Iowa county and its Board of Supervisors are being sued for a new ordinance banning 2 liquid carbon pipelines from being built. Summit Carbon Solutions has sued Emmett County and its Board of Supervisors. The board approved an ordinance earlier this month that regulates and restricts the use of county land for a hazardous liquid pipeline. In its lawsuit, Summit Carbon Solutions says the county does not have the right to impose those restrictions because they supersede federal regulations. Summit's proposed pipeline would travel through 29 Iowa counties across 650 miles. One of the Fairfield teens charged with murdering their Spanish teacher could testify against the other. We found that out today in court when Willard Miller's lawyers asked again to suppress evidence in the case. They called for this new hearing because Jeremy Goodale, who is also charged with murder, is now a witness in Miller's case. The defense says that changes things. Both teens are accused of killing Noema Graber in 2021. Miller's trial is set to start April 21st in Council Bluffs.
3 weeks after we learned the city of Mapleton was short of police officers, we've now learned there's been some progress. Mayor Brent Streck has posted that an officer and his dog have joined the team on a part-time basis. The officer is described as a certified reserve officer who also works with 5 other towns. The dog is a German Shepherd and a single-purpose drug dog. The mayor says the city continues to explore all options after losing both their police chief and a part-time officer.
Good evening, Siouxland. We are quiet now, but things will be changing quite a bit in the next 48 hours. FS Repair City Kingsley cameras showing a breeze starting to pick up out there. Cloud cover will increase through the night tonight as temperatures stay actually a little bit warmer. We are in the 20s and 30s now, but temperatures aren't going to go too much farther than where we are now. Generally going to see an increase in cloud cover as we head into tomorrow. This is all ahead of our next storm system, bringing in the potential for severe thunderstorms. Now, this area may change, but we have the chance for maybe some 1-inch size hail for tomorrow evening. And then on Friday, as this system works its way to the east, we could see another round of severe weather for far eastern Siouxland. And behind this accumulating snow, I'll have everything you need to know in your forecast coming up.
All right, thanks, Kat. Property value assessments went out last week for residential homeowners in Sioux City, and the new numbers may shock some of you. Sioux City assessor Tyler Erickson says the average increase was about 20%. Erickson adds the increase is partly because 2022 was a seller's market due to low inventory with high demand for housing. That led to higher sale prices for homes, and those prices help determine how neighboring homes are valued for tax purposes.
We're trying to be as fair and equitable as possible when we're going through these raises or increases, so that's the way that we do it. But it is all based off of market sales.
Now, the assessed value is only one part of the equation that makes up the tax bill. The Iowa Department of Revenue also plays a role, as do tax rates determined by local governments and school districts. If you think your assessment needs to be recalculated, you can file a review with the assessor's office starting April 2nd through April 25th.
Lawmakers in Iowa are moving forward with the plan to let Iowans get birth control without a prescription.
Two different versions of that bipartisan bill did make it through the funnel deadline, but not every one sold quite yet.
State House reporter Scarlett Talal has the latest details from Des Moines.
Iowans are one step closer to receiving over-the-counter birth control. Under the proposal, pharmacists would be able to dispense contraceptives without a prescription to anyone over 18. The bipartisan bill requires pharmacists go through a training course before they could give out meds. Those seeking birth control would have to do a self-assessment, and if the self-screening turns up any risks, they need to see a doctor first.
Just wanted to say how much I appreciate bipartisan support for safe and effective birth control.
The plan would allow Iowans to walk into a pharmacy without an appointment, do the self-risk assessment, then check in with a pharmacist to talk side effects, effectiveness, and the importance of primary care. Once a patient qualifies, they'll get a 3-month supply of birth control and a 12-month refill. After that, they'll need to see a doctor.
I just wanted to note that I really appreciate the robust conversation we've had and the ability that we were able to add an in-person option that does have safety and security measures to the providing of already legal birth control.
But some concerned Republicans worry Iowans should see a doctor before getting a prescription.
And that is actually moving the visit prior to dispensing, and then maybe even extending the length of time for that pharmacist to dispense from 24 to 36 months as long as that assessment is done.
Over-the-counter birth control does have GOP support in both chambers and the governor's office, but the details are still up in the air, with some Republicans demanding changes before they'll vote for it.
While I'm not crazy about this bill, after discussion with the governor's office and being assured that it's going to be changed and amended, I will get it out of committee and vote for it. And if it's not changed, I will be voting no on the floor.
In Des Moines, Skylar Twall reporting.
Former Vice President Mike Pence is making another visit to eastern Iowa today. The former vice president was in Cedar Rapids for a luncheon with the Lynn Eagles and a fireside chat where he held a book signing. Pence began the day with the breakfast event in Des Moines and also spoke at the Johnson County Republicans' Reagan dinner tonight in Coralville. Coming up in 5 minutes tonight at 10 o'clock.
Siouxland honors local Vietnam War veterans with a special dinner. But first.
The clock is ticking for Congress to address the debt ceiling. I'm Atrell Nashar on Capitol Hill with why the two parties only seem to be getting farther from reaching an agreement.
President Biden and House Speaker Kevin McCarthy face two of the biggest tests so far in this Congress, addressing the debt ceiling and passing a budget. But it's been almost 2 months since they've met about it.
Sinclair National correspondent Atrell Nashar reports from Capitol Hill on the fundamental disagreements getting in their way.
The national debt front and center on Capitol Hill, with no clear plan yet on how leaders from each party will come together to address it before a default sometime this summer or early fall.
And yet we have not seen anything from House Republicans. What we have seen and heard are excuses after excuses after excuses.
In a letter, McCarthy tells the president he's concerned his insistence the debt ceiling be raised separate from a deal on spending or budget cuts puts, quote, an already fragile economy in jeopardy. High inflation, Russia's war in Ukraine, tension with China, 2 bank failures, all raising the stakes of a timely agreement on getting the nation's finances in order. The gridlock renewing calls from some like Democratic Congressman Rick Larson to eliminate the debt ceiling altogether.
We're the only industrialized country with a debt limit that's in the law that forces us to change it. It hasn't worked to limit debt.
House Budget Committee Chair Republican Jody Arrington reintroducing legislation to call a convention of states to propose a fiscal responsibility amendment to the Constitution. He says to put a check on federal spending.
The debt ceiling is about previous spending, but the issue is getting tied into talks about future spending. Earlier this month, President Biden introduced his budget proposal, and House Republicans have yet to introduce anything comprehensive, but they are calling for trillions in cuts. Economists poking holes in both plans.
There's a new 4-letter word in fiscal policy. It's called math. President Biden's proposed policy doesn't meet the test. What you articulated that is potentially being proposed by the Speaker doesn't meet the test.
Significant cutting at this point in time, if it were any time in the near future, I think would be the fodder for a recession.
A lack of confidence and broad consensus about the state of current proposals and leaders' ability to find common ground. On Capitol Hill, I'm Atrell Nashar reporting.
This evening, Vietnam veterans in Siouxland were honored at Siouxland Freedom Park in South Sioux City. That facility hosting its annual Vietnam War Veterans Day free dinner and ceremony in the Brigadier General Bud and Doris Day Interpretive Center. This was the last time the event will be held at the center. The center will soon be filled with exhibits that will be open to the public.
We'll just walk through the room. Look at them. Look at the camaraderie, the joy, and the sorrow. The emotions are mixed. But for them to be able to sit down, break bread, and be with each other.
The event was free for veterans and in-uniform active military, with everyone else encouraged to make a free will donation.
She's been dominating national headlines all season. Now the leader of Iowa's women's basketball team has another accomplishment to add to her resume: the title of the best player in the country.
Sports Director Owen Sebring from our sister station KGAN, and formerly here as well, joins us live from Dallas, where that announcement was made this afternoon. Owen?
Well, 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 look who comes crawling back to old Owen Sebring. It's been a blast covering the Iowa women's basketball team down here in Dallas. Doesn't quite compare to covering Morningside and Northwestern in the NAIA National Championship games, but still pretty good getting a chance to come down here for the Final Four this year. And of course, an historic afternoon for the Iowa women's basketball team and the Big Ten as a whole. Believe it or not, there are only 2 Big Ten players from the women's basketball side who have ever won the Naismith Award, and those are both Iowa Hawkeyes. Megan Gustafson just a few years ago in 2019, and now again this year, Caitlin Clark becomes the second Hawkeye and the second Big Ten player to ever win the award. Bit of a controversial season for the Naismith Award, maybe not so controversial by the end of things, but a lot of people debating whether it was going to be Caitlin Clark or whether it would be Aaliyah Boston, the reigning Naismith Player of the Year. I think that it's safe to say that Boston was going to be the national runner-up to Clark after things were announced today. And Clark, of course, just so humble and so generous and so kind when we get a chance to talk to her afterwards. And I believe I'm hearing that Alex Northcutt is going to have a lot more on this story later on in the show at 10 o'clock. So reporting live from Dallas, Owen Sebring, Siouxland News.
There you go.
There you go. Good to see you, Owen. Thanks so much.
Always good to see you, Owen. Now we do have another storm system working its way into California that's going to bring in severe weather chances as well as accumulating snow. That's in your forecast straight ahead.
Your Siouxland weather forecast with Chief Meteorologist Kat Taylor.
It is the time of the year when we know we may get some storms. You just don't know if it's going to be in liquid rain or if it's going to be snow or
ice, somewhere in the middle, all the above.
Yeah, all of it, yeah.
All the above. That's going to be not just in the next 48 hours, but also again in next week. But let's focus on what's going on now. We do have an active weather pattern this week. Severe hail is possible as we head into tomorrow evening, with severe thunderstorms possible generally far eastern Siouxland on Friday, and then all of us seeing a cold rain changing to snow on Friday evening into Friday night. So there's a lot going on. At Discount Store City, Ottawa, camera looking pretty calm and quiet. Temperatures now in the 20s and 30s. We're now below freezing in Sioux City at 31 degrees. Water vapor satellite really showing our next storm system arriving. Ahead of that, we are going to see some mid-level moisture bringing in cloud cover for Siouxland tonight, but this big storm system will arrive with the potential for severe thunderstorms tomorrow. I'm expecting this area of concern to change. I think this could move a little bit farther to the south, but for right now, this is a marginal risk from the Storm Prediction Center for 1-inch hail or larger for tomorrow. And as we head into Friday, the majority of Siouxland is fine, but far eastern Siouxland, this is going to be the area in which thunderstorms will fire up, work their way to the east extremely quickly. But in that time frame, when they fire up and they start to materialize, we could see some severe thunderstorms again as they work their way eastward westward. All types of severe weather possible as they continue to strengthen and go east. So future radar showing how this is going to play out through the night tonight. Increased cloud cover. Tomorrow we see a cloudy day, and by tomorrow evening between about 7 and 9ish we see thunderstorms possibly develop, and this is where we have that potential for maybe an inch or larger hail. And again, you'll see this model really bringing it farther south, so I fully expect that area of concern for tomorrow to be extended south along the warm front. We see the chance for the hail and strong storms to continue through about 2 o'clock in the morning, early Friday morning. We have a cold rain for the rest of Thursday night to Friday morning. And then on Friday, the potential for thunderstorms to develop will be there for the early afternoon in far eastern Siouxland. And they're going to move out quickly, so hopefully they'll move out before they really get strong enough to do any nefarious deeds. But we are going to see snow wrap around the back edge of this system, and that's going to bring in some light accumulating snow. Thankfully, it will warm enough to where not a lot of it's going to be accumulating too much. So a trace to 2 inches possible here in the white, none to dusting here in the darker color. And really, for the most part, I think the majority of us are so warm thanks to the warm day tomorrow that a lot of that will melt. So tonight, 26 degrees, mostly cloudy, so winds pick up. Tomorrow, a daytime high of 65. That moisture surges in, especially around lunchtime, and thunderstorms possible late 7 to 9 o'clock for the firing of those thunderstorms. Wind gusts to 35 miles an hour. The wind going to be a very consistent story with us this week. Very windy days on Friday and again next Wednesday, as you see temperatures go from the mid 60s tomorrow to the 40s Saturday to the mid 60s on Sunday, back to the 40s again on Wednesday. So another chance for storms changing to snow to the middle of next week.
Welcome to spring in Siouxland. This is pretty much what just happened.
Weather whiplash.
All right, thanks, Kat. Coming up in 2 minutes tonight at 10, we're introducing you to our latest Above and Beyond Student of the Month.
We'll meet a Dakota Valley senior who's helping out wherever he can, including supporting the record-setting basketball team.
Above and Beyond is sponsored by Morningside University.
Our latest Above and Beyond honoree is a student described as helpful and who plays a crucial role in school, even helping the basketball team to its second state championship.
Siouxland News reporter Taylor Decker takes us to Dakota Valley High School to meet him.
When you walk through the front doors of Dakota Valley High School, you often meet and greet with senior student Cody Morris.
He always has a smile on his face. He stands at the door. He greets everyone that comes into the school. A good morning, staff, students.
A friendly face, always wanting to make others smile.
Military personnel may salute the flag.
You'll also find him in the gym with the DV varsity basketball team as manager, a role he's stepped into over the last few years, playing a major part on the team.
It's been a ride so far, and manager, they've said I'm a good man and I do everything that I'm supposed to, and I just like being involved with the guys. And
Dakota Valley head basketball coach says that Cody is a light on the team, always bringing a positive energy every day.
He's always excited to be there and be a part of it and do his deal, and he's great at his job.
And I do like the players do during introductions of the starting lineups. I go out on the court with the rest of the players and give them high fives as they're running out.
A prized possession for him is the championship ring, helping bring the team to winning the first ever state championship.
Oh, this ring is very special to me, and I'll keep this thing forever. State championship last year, first ever state championship here at Dakota Valley High School for our boys varsity basketball team. And I got to be involved with it, which is very nice.
He is moving all the time. He doesn't sit down. He makes sure those players have their water, their towels, their chairs. I mean, he treats them like gold.
Reporting in North Sioux City, Taylor Decker, Siouxland News.
When he's not on the basketball court or in the classroom, you can find Cody at your local Fairway grocery store helping customers. Now, if you know of a student who goes above and beyond in their school, you can nominate them by going to this story at SiouxlandNews.com.
The boy who holds Unity Point Health St. Luke's record for being the smallest infant to leave their neonatal intensive care unit returned today. Jacob Bride is now 18 and is a senior at Bishop Heelan. He was just 1 pound 12 ounces at birth in August of 2004. Today, he reunited with the doctor and the medical team who cared for him all those years ago.
So 18 years ago, that was our smallest baby that we were able to keep. So we learned a lot with Jacob. He was kind of our little guinea pig, I guess you could say. Wonderful to take care of. His family was amazing. He had the best parents. And it just so happened that he had a wonderful outcome.
Since leaving the NICU, Jacob has gone on to become an Eagle Scout and is set to graduate from Bishop Heelan this spring.
Thanks, guys. We're coming up next in sports. We introduce this week's featured MVP, plus a historic day for Caitlin Clark and the Iowa women's basketball program. That's all ahead after this.
Siouxland Sports with sports director Alex Northcutt.
Good evening, Siouxland sports fans. After setting a new NCAA tournament record with the first 40-point triple-double, Iowa's Caitlin Clark has now done something only one other Lady Hawkeye has ever been able to do. Earlier Wednesday afternoon in Dallas, Clark was named the 2023 Naismith National Player of the Year, selected over South Carolina's Aaliyah Boston, Virginia Tech's Elizabeth Kitley, and Villanova's Maddie Siegrist. An award given to the most outstanding player in women's basketball, Clark has also surpassed over 900 points and 300 assists this season, becoming the first men's or women's player to do so at the Division I level.
Yeah, I think just, you're really grateful more than anything. Yeah, I mean, obviously quite the moment. This room's just full of people. It's hot in here, but, I'm just really lucky that I get to have, my whole team here, my whole program here with me. That means more to me than, this award ever could. And, I'm grateful for this committee that voted for this, but, I'm just grateful that I get to celebrate this with, every single person in our program because, like I said, they deserve it just as much as I do.
Well, Clark will now look to take another step towards adding national champion to her resume. The Lady Hawkeyes take on South Carolina in the Final Four this Friday night in Dallas at 8. Clark will also be appearing live tomorrow morning on CBS Mornings for an interview at 8:30. Well, we've made the transition into the spring athletics season, meaning for some local athletes, it'll be their last time to participate in a high school sport. In this week's featured MVP segment, brought to you by Bob Rose Point After, one individual is using his time to make the most of his senior year. You've seen him shine on the gridiron and make electric plays on the basketball court. However, Keaton Bonderson doesn't stop there. The Galen Catholic senior now turns his attention towards the track and field season, looking to defend his state title in the Class 1A 200-meter dash event. Now in his final year of high school athletics, Bonderson has taken a different approach to how he prepares himself physically and mentally as an individual sprinter.
I think taking care of my body more than, working out. I think last year we were working out a lot and doing hard workouts every day. It's like self-motivated, you don't have a teammate to get you hyped up or, do it for your teammates. You're just doing it for yourself and, you just have to kind of be mentally strong or prepared to run in that big 100 or 200 race.
Like many local athletes in the state of Iowa, Bonderson will get the opportunity to compete in the Drake Relays, which is a great competitive measuring stick before the high school state championships.
I think any time you can run on that track, at Drake, it just gives you more experience. And when you get down to the state meet, you have a certain sense of calm, a certain sense of, well, I've been here, I've done this before, and you just have a confidence. So the more you can run down there, the better.
As a talented athlete that has seen success in several sports, Bonderson is more than eager to start the 2023 season, ready to give everything he has and leave it all on the track.
It was just, you're just out for track because you kind of just had to be here, but now it's like, this is it, you want to go out there and you want to win as many races and warm up properly and try your best.
Some seniors choose not to go out for track their senior year, and this was something he wants to go back. He wants to win the 1, he wants to win the 2. He wants to try and place our team as high as you can in the team standing. So really big commitment from him to come back out and really put everything on the line and see what he can do.
With just a few meets already under his belt, Bonderson and the rest of the Galen Catholic track team will continue their season next Tuesday in Orange City. This year's Drake Relays in Des Moines will take place April 26th through the 29th. That'll conclude our time for sports. We'll take a quick commercial break. When we come back, a final check of your weather forecast.
Better be a fan of roller coasters for this forecast.
Yeah, up and down. We have severe weather chances by tomorrow afternoon, Friday. Generally seeing a cold rain changing over to snow, and it's going to be definitely a blowing snow with a very windy day on Friday into Friday night. Back to the 60s on Sunday, and then we have another chance at storms changing over to winter weather again on Wednesday of next week.
All right, finally tonight, talk about having an out-of-this-world afterlife. The DNA of 4 former presidents are being sent into space.
A space burial company called Celestic is sending the symbolic remains of George Washington, Dwight Eisenhower, JFK, and Ronald Reagan on its very first flight.
DNA samples from some non-former presidents will also be part of this trip, including from the Star Trek show. That show's creator Gene Roddenberry, his wife Majel, and Star Trek engineer James Scotty Doohan will also be on board for this trip.